Well, welcome to Let Us Seek the Lord as we read through the scriptures, chapter or two a day, after which I give a short meditation on the glory of Jesus as related to the passage we just read. Today is February 5th, and we are looking at Genesis 38. So if you would like written materials on this, it can be obtained at uh, amazon.com/author/J. Craig Chaffin. So let's get busy and read Genesis 38. It came to pass in time that Judah departed from his brothers and visited a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira. Now Judah saw that there was a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he married her, and he went in to her. So she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Er. She conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. He was at Chezib when she bore him. Then Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord killed him. So Judah said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir to your brother." But Onan knew that the heir would not be his. And it came to pass, when he went into his brother's wife, that he emitted on the ground, lest he should give an heir to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. Therefore he killed him also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow in your father's house till my son Shelah is grown." For he said, lest he also be like his brothers. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. Now in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted. And he went up to the sheep shearers at Timnah, and he and his friend Hira, the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, "Look, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep." So she took off her widow's garment, covered herself with a veil, wrapped herself, and sat in an open place which was on the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given to him as a wife. Then Judah saw her, and he thought that she was a harlot, because she had covered her face. Then he turned to her by the way and said, "Please, let me come in to you," for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. So she said, "What will you give me that you may come in to me?" And he said, "I will send a young goat from the flock." So she said, "Will you give me a pledge till you send it?" And he said, "Well, what pledge shall I give you?" So she said, "Your signet and cord, and your staff that is in your hand." Then he gave them to her, and he went in to her, and she conceived by him. So she arose and went away, and laid aside her veil, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the young goat by the hand of a friend, a Adullamite, to receive the pledge from the woman's hand, but he didn't find her. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, "Where's the harlot who was openly by the roadside?" And they said, "There's no harlot in this place." So he returned to Judah and said, "I can't find her." Also the men of the place said, "There was no harlot in this place." Then Judah said, "Take them for herself, lest we be shamed. For I sent the young goat, and you haven't found her." And it came to pass about 3 months after that Judah was told, saying, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot. Furthermore, she's with child by harlotry." So Judah said, "Bring her out here, and let her be burned." And when she was brought out, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, "By the man to whom these belong, I am with child." And she said, "Please determine who these are, the signet and cord and staff." So Judah acknowledged them, and he said, "She's been more righteous than I, because I didn't give her to Shelah, my son." and he never knew her again. Now it came to pass at the time of giving birth that, behold, twins were in her womb. And so it was when she was giving birth that one put out his hand, and the midwife took a scarlet thread and bound it on his hand, saying, "This one came out first." Then it happened, as he drew back his hand, that his brother came out unexpectedly, and she said, "How did you break through? This breach be upon you." Therefore his name was called Perez. And afterwards his brother came out, who had the scarlet thread on his hand, and his name was called Zerah. Wow. Things really get weird in the Bible, don't they? I remember one time meeting a woman, her face glowed with joy. Joy just seemed to ooze out of her. I met her for the first and only time in my life at a Bible study. The leader of the Bible study told me that she'd only been saved a week. He said that she looked 10 years younger now than what she had looked like the week previous. She'd been a drug addict and a prostitute. When she met Jesus, she not only left the world's oldest profession, but she was also instantly delivered from the drug addictions that held her in bondage. Jesus always seemed to have a soft spot in his heart for prostitutes. After all, Tamar resorts to prostitution to get what she wanted. Rahab was a harlot. These are both mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus. Many of his acquaintances were prostitutes, or at very least promiscuous. Does this mean that Jesus approves of sexual promiscuity or prostitution? No, not at all. It just magnifies his glorious mercy and grace. What a pathetic family line Jesus comes from. Tamar did some rather unconventional acts in order to get what conventionally should have been hers. In her culture, children were the conventional form of social security for a woman. Why didn't Judah provide what should have been a right, according to her culture? If not only recognized at this point, eventually Judah would be recognized as the one through whom would come the promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. We can see that in chapter 49 of Genesis, verses 8 through 12. Simeon and Levi had disqualified themselves in the murder of the men of Shechem, Genesis 34, and also Genesis 49, verses 5 and 7 through 7. Reuben disqualified himself in defiling his father's bed, Genesis 35:22 and Genesis 49, 3 through 4. I suspect that Israel, perhaps even Isaac, had some sort of discussion with Judah concerning this before his deathbed. Yet Judah married a Canaanite woman. That was reprehensible in the eyes of Abraham and Isaac. Why did Judah do that? Then when his two oldest sons were grown and did not produce an heir, but were killed by the Lord for doing some undisclosed evil, he didn't follow the cultural mandate of giving Tamar to his third son, for he thought Sheila would die too. Maybe he reasoned because she was a Canaanite, perhaps he thought that God would not allow an heir to continue. At any rate, he gives no opportunity for his daughter-in-law to produce an heir. Neither does Judah produce another child by his wife. After a long time, Judah's wife dies. Yet he still seems to have a strong sex desire, sex drive, but he's unwilling to produce an heir. Hence, he goes and he visits the temple prostitute, shrine prostitute. Any child born to a shrine prostitute could not make claim to Judah's inheritance. It would appear that the heroine in this story is Tamar, for she does what is necessary to produce an heir. This is rather bizarre to my Western mind, and probably kind of bizarre to yours too. Does this incident mean that the Lord approves of the behavior in this story? No, not at all. but it does show us the magnitude of his mercy and his grace. Does this mean that we can presume upon his grace? No, not at all. We'd better not. Even the recipients of grace, even as recipients of grace, there are still consequences of sin in the family. Just look at this whole sordid affair. But it is a great reminder of his awesome mercy and grace. Wonderful grace of Jesus, greater than all my sin. How shall my tongue describe it? Where shall his praise begin? Taking away my burden, setting my spirit free. Oh, the wonderful grace of Jesus reaches me. Indeed, we serve a glorious King. Speak his glory to someone today.